Hi guys, I'm Beth with Vegan Roots, and today I'm going to show you how to make a comfrey tea. Comfrey tea is great to fertilize your garden from what I've heard. I've never actually made it before or used it, so this is my first time doing this. I've watched a lot of videos about how people do it differently, and so I'm going to show you the way I do it. So I need to go ahead and harvest my comfrey, which is right behind me here, and then I will make some tea in this bucket. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and harvest this comfrey, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so I have 3 comfrey plants here, and so I'm gonna harvest this tallest one. I don't need a ton of fertilizer simply because my garden's not huge and massive. So I'm just gonna use this one here and try to keep the other ones because they have nice flowers for the bees. They've been on them the past couple days, so definitely want to keep some flowers for them. All right, so what you want to do is just take the big stalk down. So the stalk that goes all the way to the top, you'll just snip it at the bottom. Okay, so this is the big stalk of comfrey, and I'm also going to take some of the other leaves around here because I've heard that it grows back really fast. I've never actually had to do that, but we'll see here. Alright, so I'm going to leave just these few leaves here so that I still have somewhat of a plant, and I'm going to use all of these to make my comfrey tea. Alright, so I'm using this bucket here. It's a very, very large bucket. I wouldn't use one so large, except I use the other bucket to wash the car and to just do other things with, like my smaller Lowe's bucket, and so I'm using this big trash can. Also, that smaller Lowe's bucket doesn't have a lid, and I have heard that comfrey tea smells quite a bit and that you're going to want the lid. So I have a lid here for this big trash can that we'll use for the comfrey tea. So if you break up this comfrey, it's going to decompose a lot faster, and so I'm going to cut this into small pieces just to so that I have fertilizer more quickly and can use it sooner. You also want to make sure that this decomposes all the way so that there are no seeds left in there, so that when you use it as fertilizer, you're not planting seeds as well, and comfrey doesn't take over your other plants. So make sure it's fully decomposed before you use it. Let's see, I think I got all the comfrey there. So I'm just going to show you how much is in here. It's not much at all. So it's barely covering the bottom. So I don't need too much water in here, just enough to cover the comfrey leaves. And then I've heard varying times about how long this should sit before we use it. So I've heard from 3 to 6 weeks. So I'm not exactly sure how long I'll let it sit. Probably 3 weeks because I'm impatient, but if it doesn't seem fully broken down by then, I'll let it sit a little bit longer. I know the water should be a dark brown, slightly greenish color like tea, and so as long as you have a tea, you can use it. And once you actually go to use your tea, you also need to make sure you dilute it. I think 1 1 part Comfrey tea to 10 parts water. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that into like a bean sprayer and spray it as fertilizer on my garden. If I find that that's too kind of tedious, I may just take some bucketfuls and pour it onto the garden. So I'm going to fill this up and put the lid on, and we'll have some Comfrey tea in 3 to 6 weeks. So I covered that just a little bit more than just to the top of the Comfrey. I didn't put a ton of Comfrey in there, and so I wanted a little bit more Comfrey tea than what was just gonna cover the Comfrey leaves. So not a ton more, just a little bit. So here it is. This is how much I put in there. Let's see if you can see that. Still not a ton, but it should be enough to fertilize at least a portion of my garden. And I may add more Comfrey leaves as time goes on, just to make sure that I have enough fertilizer for everything. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want any more how-to videos, please make sure you leave those suggestions in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.